Well, joining us now is Cecile Shea, Senior Fellow at the Chicago Council on Global Affairs, former US Embassy official in Tokyo, and she worked closely with Mr. Abe's administration. He joins us now from Chicago. Let me start, Cecile, by saying that this must be a profound shock for anyone, not only anyone who knew the former Prime Minister, but also anyone who knows anything about politics in Japan. This feels like an almost alien event.
It's absolutely, you're absolutely correct. I'm still in shock personally because I had met the Prime Minister, seen him in action, respected him greatly. I'm in shock that something like this could happen in Japan, a country where not only is there almost no violent crime, there's almost no crime at all. And then, of course, the idea that this larger-than-life character, this person who has been at the center of Japanese politics for over a decade and whose family has been at the center of Japanese politics for 70 or 80 years, that he could just be assassinated this way by another Japanese person. The entire day is still almost a little surreal, not just to myself, but I think to anyone who has ever lived in Japan.
Have you spoken to friends or acquaintances in Japan since this news happened?
You know, I have not. I've spoken with a few of my former colleagues from the State Department, and they are just as much in shock as I am. I was going to reach out to some of my Japanese friends in the morning. With the time change, it's a little difficult. But yes, I just know that even the folks who didn't vote for him are just incredibly sad today because, as I say, he was just a larger-than-life figure and a man of immense charisma. And we should also say his wife is very popular in Japan. So there are a lot of people upset about how terrible she must feel today also.
Give us a sense of how important Shinzo Abe is to the kind of modern identity of Japan, particularly for the LDP, because the impression I get is that whether he was in office or not, he was still the man who mattered in the LDP.
Well, he certainly was. Of course, he had to resign because of failing health. But the mere fact that he was able to stay in power for almost a decade was extraordinarily important to Japan. And when you added that, the fact that he was very charismatic, that he was liked, I saw Theresa May's comments today, and it was interesting to me that she stressed what a nice man he was and how hospitable he was. And, you know, the other world leaders, they felt comfortable with him. And that is what he brought to Japan's role in the world. Japan has always been a power for the last 50 years, the third largest economy in the world, the most advanced military in Japan, a world leader in official development assistance to the world's neediest countries. But what he brought was a continuity and a comfort level with Westerners and an understanding of how to get to where he needed to be. And you certainly saw that with President Trump. He was willing to do things that other Western leaders were not willing to do. You know, he was willing to stand there and take insults in front of cameras without fighting back. He was willing to play golf with the man. He, you know, gave the president a gold-plated putter. I mean, he was willing to do whatever it took to get along with Donald Trump because his strategic vision included the importance and the centrality of the U.S.-Japan alliance. And so he did whatever it took to maintain that alliance.
I'm sure the Chinese leadership would not condone or countenance or welcome his murder, but his absence from the political stage and the absence of an equivalent figure of that kind of weight and heft is presumably not unpleasing to China's view of that part of South Asia, because he was one of the leaders who actually pushed back publicly against some of the things that China was doing or contemplating doing in the South China Sea.
And he was the most vocal of the world leaders in supporting Taiwan. So you put those two things together, yes, I'm guessing there are mixed feelings in China. You know, the other thing is we should remember, Prime Minister Abe, one of the things I respected about him was his willingness to take huge political risks, including pushing Japan into the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the area-wide free trade agreement that the U.S. eventually backed out of after twisting Abe's arm to join. But that took immense courage to stand up, among other things, to the agricultural lobby in his own country. And it might be that without Abe, Japan, the most important democratic economy in the region, would not have joined the Trans-Pacific Partnership. So certainly China is aware that he really has been immensely important in holding the democracies in the area together. The real question now is whether Prime Minister Kishida can stay in power for more than the typical Japanese prime minister, which tends to be a year or a year and a half, and whether the Liberal Democratic Party will remain united, which is one of the things that Abe accomplished. It's full of factions. It's hard to hold together, and he used a combination of fear and good politics and rewards and just a really compelling personality to hold the party together and to enable it to move forward.
Cecile Shea, Senior Fellow at the Chicago Council on Global Affairs, former embassy official in Tokyo. Thank you so much for giving us your insight. As you say, it is still quite hard to fully absorb this news, and it's going to be interesting to see how the reaction continues during the course of the weekend. Lovely to speak to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.